The story begins in a mysterious and dangerous red zone where bodies are falling like flies. Amidst this chaos, a young boy is searching for someone named Asaka. While navigating through the numerous dead bodies, he comes across a woman holding Asaka hostage at gunpoint. Asaka is pleading for her life, but woman remains threatening and warns the young boy not to interfere, or she will kill the hostage. Despite her threats, she suddenly dies just by the boy's intense stare. His ability to kill with just a look, even though unintentional, leaves Asaka shocked at the boy's immense power. The narrative then shifts to the young boy, now asleep on a school bus. His classmate, Tomochika, is trying to wake him up amidst a terrible situation. Despite the chaos around him, including a dragon attacking their bus and the deaths of other students, the boy remains undisturbed in his sleep. Tomochika realizes she needs the boy's help to survive. She wakes him up and he distracts the dragon, but it becomes angrier and threatens them with its fiery breath. Just when the situation seems dire, the dragon is suddenly killed, thanks to the boy's unique and deadly ability. His name is Yogiri, and he possesses a power called instant death magic. After the dragon's death, Tomochika is in shock and wants to understand what happened. However, Yogiri is more interested in playing a video game and decides to wait until Tomochika calms down. His relaxed attitude amuses Tomochika, and she starts to act more normally. They engage in a conversation where Yogiri asks Tomochika about what happened while he was asleep. She recounts the events, starting with a sunny day when their school bus left for a tour. However, the trip quickly turned into a nightmare. After passing through a tunnel, the bus entered a strange meadow, a new and curious place for everyone. However, their peace is shattered when a powerful and dangerous sage enters the bus and kills their teacher for interrupting her. This act instills fear in everyone. The sage claims to have immense power in this alternate world, a place where survival is a constant battle. She kills the bus driver as well, showcasing her strength. She then informs the students that they are in a world where sages dominate, and everyone must struggle to survive. The students are forced to serve this sage, who needs them to stay relevant in this world's power dynamics. The sage uses a magical glow to install a battle song system in the students, essentially turning them into her servants in this perilous world. Unlike the others, they don't glow with the magical energy given by the sage. They are in invisible portals, where they can see their assigned tasks, ranks, powers, rewards, and the time they have left. The sage has set a 1-month deadline for all the passengers to reach the status of a sage. Tomochika learns she's been labeled incompatible by the automatic recruiting system. The sage decides she's not fit for the tasks and assigns her to take care of the livestock to earn mana, a type of magical energy. Her first mission, which starts in an hour, is to avoid and fight a dragon. After the sage leaves, everyone gets busy with their tasks. One student becomes their leader, responsible for managing everyone's status. He can give orders and make decisions for the group. This proud leader decides to use Tomochika, Yogiri, and the other two as bait to distract an incoming dragon, allowing the rest of the group to reach the town safely. He has more powers than the others, and he uses this advantage to control them. They feel powerless and resigned to their fate, waiting for the dragon. Yogiri continues to sleep, unaffected by the extreme stress around him. When the dragon attacks the bus, breaking windows and damaging it severely, the situation becomes dire. One girl, feeling hopeless, gives up and dies instantly. The story then reveals that Yogiri learns about all these events after waking up from his sleep. Upon hearing the tragic tale of deaths and monsters, Yogiri's main concern is to charge his handheld game, which frustrates Tomochika. She expects a more emotional reaction, but he remains calm, unaffected by the recent chaos. Tomochika urges him to take the situation seriously. Yogiri then steps out of the damaged bus to assess the situation. He concludes that the dead dragon poses no further danger, and they need to find a way to solve their current predicament. Tomochika is still trying to understand how they survived the attack of the giant monster. She questions Yogiri about any hidden powers he might have, but he remains quiet, suggesting that their survival was just luck or fate. Suddenly, they see a student flying towards them with 2 helpers. This group is surprised to find the dragon dead and 2 survivors. They wonder how Yogiri and Tomochika, who seem like ordinary students without special powers or ranks, managed to kill the monster. These flying students are relieved because, with the dragon engaged, they had time to escape. They don't care about others, only their own survival. Yogiri feels like attacking these selfish students, but Tomochika, still kind-hearted, stops him. Yogiri knows that these students came with the intent to kill them. One of the helpers, who has healing powers, wanted to turn Tomochika's body into a zombie, but this plan fails. The leader of this group then tries to kill Tomochika with a giant fireball. She narrowly escapes, and the fireball destroys the meadow. The power of these students is evident from the destruction they caused. They try to intimidate and manipulate Tomochika, but she resists. Yogiri decides it's time to act. He tells Tomochika to stay quiet and stands in front of her to protect her. He points at one of the attackers and simply says, "Die." The attacker falls dead, shocking his companions. They can't believe their leader died so easily. The remaining two are terrified. They try to revive their leader but fail, and another one dies. The healer is the only one left. He's too scared to move, fearing Yogiri might kill him too. The fear in his eyes is evident, and he follows Yogiri's commands without question. Yogiri considers explaining his powers, but decides to let the healer check if his partners are really dead. He wants the healer to have no doubts about his abilities. The healer tries to use his powers to revive his fallen comrades, believing his magic can heal any wound. However, his magic fails, and he ends up surrendering to Yogiri, kneeling in front of him, acknowledging Yogiri's superior power. Yogiri explains his unique abilities. He didn't mention them earlier when the dragon died because he wasn't interested in doing so. However, now he feels it's necessary to explain, especially since the healer might try to challenge him otherwise. Tomochika, witnessing all this, is astonished by Yogiri's incredible power. Despite not having the magical glow of a sage, Yogiri possesses an extraordinary ability. He can instantly kill anyone he targets simply by deciding to do so. This power works without the need for any physical action or special equipment. The healer initially doubts Yogiri's abilities, finding them hard to believe, but when Yogiri threatens to demonstrate his power on him, the healer becomes terrified and quickly agrees to understand and accept what Yogiri is saying. However, despite this apparent understanding, the healer still contemplates betraying Yogiri. He tries to use a ball of killing magic against Yogiri, but he fails. Yogiri has another remarkable ability. He can sense any intent to harm him, even from a distance, and can instantly kill the attacker. These two abilities make Yogiri an exceptional and fearsome fighter in this alternate world. The healer, realizing Yogiri's power and his own inability to challenge him, feels disappointed and recognizes his helplessness in the face of Yogiri's superior abilities. This realization marks a turning point in the healer's attitude, as he now understands the extent of Yogiri's powers and his own limitations. Yogiri confronts the healer, Keen, questioning his boldness and attacking him despite witnessing the deaths of his partners. Keen reveals that he has been in this alternate world longer than Yogiri and the others, summoned here by the mages of the Aman Kingdom. He explains that in this world, they are required to fight for a year and defeat a demon king before returning home. Interestingly, their absence is barely noticed in the real world, where only a few hours pass for every year spent in this alternate realm. The healer adds that time stops for them in this world, allowing them to complete their tasks without worrying about time passing in the real world. Hearing this, Yogiri realizes they have a chance to return home. He contemplates killing the healer to reduce future threats, but the healer pleads for his life, looking desperately at Tomochika for support. Tomochika, indebted to Yogiri for saving her, feels unable to intervene. In a twist, the healer offers to become Tomochika's slave in exchange for his life. However, Tomochika suggests enslaving Yogiri instead, believing he deserves it more. A magical belt, designed to enslave the first person it sees, recognizes Tomochika as its master. Tomochika, not wanting to enslave anyone, transfers the belt's control to Yogiri. The healer, fearing Yogiri's powers, resists but is unable to stop the process. Yogiri becomes the master and decides to let the healer live out of generosity. However, wanting to distance himself from the healer, he sends him to a forest filled with dangerous beasts. The healer tries to resist, but the magical belt, obeying Yogiri's commands, forces him towards the forest. Yogiri, seizing the opportunity, commands the healer not to disclose their encounter to anyone and to hand over all his valuable possessions. The healer struggles, but the belt ensures compliance, leaving him penniless and headed towards a perilous fate. Tomochika, observing Yogiri's actions, starts to believe he might have feelings for her. However, Takatou's flirtatious remarks annoy her. Meanwhile, Sage Sion's reporter informs her of the deaths of 2 high-ranking candidates and 2 commoners, possibly due to instant death magic. Sione, skeptical, thinks there might be a reporting error and decides to investigate later. Tomochika and Yogiri reach the nearest town, just as the evening approaches and the gates are about to close. Tomochika hurries Yogiri to the gate, where the guards stop them to call their leader, Lord Masahiko. Masahiko, looking worried, greets them and talks about the trouble with groups of sage candidates like them. He mentions that normally there would be a toll, but they've been instructed not to hinder the sage candidates. Yogiri explains they got separated from their group, who were heading to the capital, and asks Masahiko for directions. Masahiko replies that they're not obliged to assist sage candidates. He then suggests that he could give them the information if Tomochika spends a night at his mansion. Uncomfortable with this, Tomochika quickly takes Yogiri away. She later tells Yogiri she was worried he might harm Masahiko in anger. Yogiri, surprised, questions if he seems violent, and Tamachika is astonished he hasn't realized it himself. She then observes the town, finding it magical with its mix of beast folk. They meet Myria, a cat girl, who offers to help them for free. Yogiri is skeptical about her intentions, and Myria admits she wants to befriend male sage candidates, considering them influential and easy to charm. Tamachika notes Myria's straightforwardness. Myria clarifies she won't try to charm someone with a partner, but sees value in befriending Yogiri. Tamachika, wanting to explore the town before nightfall, agrees to accept Myria's help. We then see Tamachika is happy about her shopping, having bought some nice clothes. However, she and Yogiri find themselves surrounded by thugs. Yogiri, sensing trouble, confronts them. The leader explains their frustration with the sage candidates who often cause chaos in town with their special abilities, known as gifts. They can't retaliate against those with gifts, but someone like Yogiri, presumed to be without a gift, is an ideal target for venting their anger and can be sold for a good price. Yogiri coolly responds that he'll have to eliminate them. The thugs, underestimating him due to his lack of a visible gift, laugh it off. But then Yogiri commands those behind him to die, and to the shock of everyone, they collapse dead. He tries to half-kill one, but that too results in death. Yogiri then experimentally kills different body parts of the remaining thugs, even causing the death of one's eyes. Most end up dying regardless, leaving only Myru and their boss confused and terrified. Realizing that targeting specific body parts is inefficient and cruel, Yogiri confronts Myru, who pleads for mercy, citing her little brother at home. Despite Yogiri's command for them to die, his power strangely doesn't work, and the duo manages to escape. Tamachika questions if Yogiri let them flee, but he denies it. Soon after, Myria and the boss perish while running. Yogiri suggests they leave quickly, but they're stopped by the town guard, led by a guard named Edelgard. Edelgard has questions about the incident, but Yogiri claims they just stumbled upon the scene. Edelgard reveals she was observing them and saw the thugs collapse as they attacked Yogiri. Tamachika is upset they didn't intervene, but Edelgard explains she was investigating the thugs' connections. Yogiri realizes she was tracking who the thugs intended to sell them to. Edelgard warns them not to try anything, as the guards are under the sage's protection and immune to gifts. Another guard, George, assesses Yogiri and Tamachika and concludes they don't possess gifts, making it hard to believe they're responsible for the thugs' deaths. Edelgard leaves reluctantly. George apologizes for his captain's behavior and, upon Yogiri's inquiry, suggests a good inn. It's then discovered that one of the thugs is still alive. We then see Yogiri and Tamachika staying at a luxurious inn that reminds Tamachika of a castle. They each get their own large rooms, with Tamachika's being surprisingly spacious. Alone for the first time in this new world, Tamachika is startled by a spirit appearing before her, but relaxes when she realizes the spirit looks like her older sister. The spirit introduces herself as Mokomoko Denjura, the wife of the founder's son of the Denjura school, and reveals that she is Tamachika's guardian spirit, appearing now to assist her in an urgent situation. Tamachika is curious about why Mokomoko is appearing only now, despite past dangers. Mokomoko explains she was afraid of Yogiri, understanding that Yogiri's abilities affect spirits. She advises Tamachika to inform Yogiri about her presence for future safety. Mokomoko assures Tamachika that she can protect her from all but physical attacks, revealing that she was the one who stopped the installation of a suspicious gift system that could have allowed the sage to control Tamachika's life. Wondering if others were also protected by spirits from the gift system, Tamachika learns that Mokomoko's goal is to bring the rightful heir of the Denjura archery school back to their world. Although Tamachika wishes to return, she currently depends on Yogiri. Mokomoko offers to personally train Tamachika in the true Denjura school arts. The next day, a tired Tamachika meets Yogiri, having been unable to sleep due to recent events. They discuss catching up with their classmates, and are approached by Celestina, the inn's concierge. Celestina has been helping them, looking for their classmates' whereabouts, preparing language translation and status concealment items, and even making a charger for Yogiri's gaming console. She hands them train tickets to the capital and agrees to keep some of Yogiri's gold, which surprises Tomochika as it's not a typical concierge duty. In the next scene, Yogiri and his friends are on a train to the capital. Yogiri is playing games, and Tomochika is helping him charge his console. Tomochika has already told Yogiri about Mokomoko, the spirit. Now, both of them can see Mokomoko, but they're the only ones who can, as they know about her existence. Tomochika asks Yogiri about the whereabouts of their classmates. Yogiri tells her they are in the primeval forest for training. Suddenly, Yogiri senses danger and saves Tomochika from an attack. The scene shifts to guards questioning a captured criminal who's disoriented from blindness. They report this to the sage Lane and George, but they're unable to heal the man's sight. Lane, a vampire and high-ranking undead, bites the blind man, improving his abilities, but not curing his blindness. She finds the situation intriguing. Suddenly, they are attacked by a hero-class individual. Meanwhile, passengers from the destroyed train learn about a sage fighting nearby. Yogiri and his group leave the train and see a robot battling a sage. Tomochika wonders if Yogiri can simply eliminate these obstacles. Yogiri, however, doesn't want to misuse his powers and explains his self-imposed rules to avoid unnecessary killings. Tomochika agrees with him. During a battle, the sage Sentaro freezes bystanders, but Yogiri and Tomochika survive. The hero Ion attacks Lane, but she heals quickly. Ion, tired of the sage's tyranny, uses a powerful blast in the fight. Elsewhere, Yogiri confronts Santaro for attacking them. Santaro believes people should praise sages, but Yogiri disagrees and kills him. Seeing this, the attacker surrenders. Lane, unharmed, dismisses Ion's attack and orders Edelgard and George to find Yogiri. The aggressor then approaches Yogiri, offering to negotiate. He can't offer a way back to Yogiri's world, but warns that transferring someone as dangerous as Yogiri is risky. Yogiri asks for advice for when they're ready to return to their world. Tomochika says she doesn't need anything, but Mokomoko suggests they consider her idea. The story moves to Edelgard discovering the sage Sentaro's body. Following this, Lane has a discussion with Shin about the incident. Shin is skeptical that Yogiri and Tomochika could defeat a sage, but Lane suggests they have unique magic. Shin speculates it might be instant death magic, although Sentaro was resistant to such spells. Shin thought Lane called her to discuss the darkness, but Lane emphasizes the need to focus on those capable of defeating sages. Shin prefers Lane not to meddle with her sage candidates, but is open to cooperation if Lane tackles the darkness issue. Agreeing, Lane then instructs Mastuki to take the immortal core and head to Hanabusa, suspecting their regular forces might not suffice. The scene shifts to Yogiri and his companions resting in a forest after their journey. Tomochika jokes about not asking the aggressor for a lift, but Yogiri points out it's risky to associate with an invader. Mokomoko then presents Tomochika with a shape-shifting sword she obtained from the robot. Curious about its storage, Tomochika learns it was disguised as her underwear, leaving her surprised.
Yogiri and Tomochika reach Hanabusa City after walking through a forest. Tomochika notes the city's resemblance to Japan and comments on Yogiri's poor physical condition. Yogiri explains he's tired from killing enemies along their journey. Tomochika is confused until she sees the monsters and bandits they encounter. Yogiri clarifies that while he can use his power freely, it tires him out. In the city, they notice it's surrounded by barriers, not walls. Spotting a large hotel, they decide to stay there. Inside, they meet their classmate Takabana, who left his group due to their inefficient leveling. Takabana's maid, who is jealous of Tomochika, gets calmed down by him. Another girl praises Takabana, leaving Tomochika confused. Yogiri doesn't understand the situation either. Takabana introduces the maids as his bodyguards. He has 5 in total who subtly threaten Tomochika. Takabana, who is popular with girls but a narcissist, apologizes for his behavior. Yogiri inquires if Takabana also abandoned them, but Tamachika reveals he's always been arrogant and confident. Takabana then boldly asks Tamachika to become his lover and offers Yogiri special treatment, leaving them both shocked. Tamachika questions Takabana's confidence, and he reveals his dominator class, which allows him to control those weaker than him. She notes he hasn't leveled up as much as others training in the primeval forest. Takabana, mistaking her shock for interest, shares his backstory. After their first mission, Four Eyes advised Takabana to buy cheap level 1 servants to fight for him. Victories would convert enemies into his servants and grant him experience points. Four Eyes, a consultant class adept at plotting and scamming, suggested this strategy to Takabana, who was being avoided due to his class. Four Eyes warned that without becoming a sage, everyone would be reduced to livestock. This motivated Takabana to follow Four Eyes' advice. Takabana admits his abilities don't provide certain information. Four Eyes, who possesses the consultant class, can see hidden details about others. When Takabana questions why Four Eyes is helping him, the plotter simply expresses his wish for everyone to have a chance to become a sage and wishes Takabana luck. Tamachika then comments on how powerful support types are in their world. Yogiri realizes that while they've been talking, Takabana's number of servants and his level have been increasing. Confirming this, Takabana again asks Tamachika to be his lover. She rejects him, but he tells her to think it over and reply later. After he leaves, Tamachika expresses her annoyance with him. Yogiri suggests that Tamachika might be safer with Takabana than with him, confusing her with his comment. Later, as Yogiri rests in his bed, Tamachika grows restless, wondering how long they'll stay there. It's already been 3 days. She asks the spirit to check on Yogiri, but the spirit refuses, fearing Yogiri's reaction. Tamachika, wanting to go outside, then notices smoke in the streets. A man named Lane, tasked with caring for Yogiri, is rampaging through the city, declaring that if citizens die, they'll join his immortal army as zombie soldiers. Yogiri is dreaming about his childhood when the phone rings. He recalls waking up to his dog licking his face and Asako preparing breakfast. He wakes up from the dream and answers the phone, promising to visit Tamachika's room. When he steps out, the corridor appears empty, but an invisible maid is there with a dagger. Using his ability to sense killing intent, Yogiri spots the maid, who plans to attack Tamachika. He uses his power, and the maid collapses to the floor. Upon reaching Tamachika's room, Yogiri informs her of the attempted attack. Confused about why she'd be targeted, Tamachika listens as Yogiri calls the reception to report the collapsed person. He explains to Tamachika that they would be suspects if he didn't report it. Meanwhile, Takabana learns his maid's signal is gone and turns his attention to another monster in the dungeon. He blocks the monster's attack with a barrier, and then counters, injuring the monster's arm. One of his servants praises Takabana's strength. After defeating the monster with a flare bomb skill, Takabana forces it into a contract and becomes its master. The monster's body parts are healed by another servant. Takabana learns the dungeon has 150 floors and orders the new servant to gather more followers from the lower level. He tries to understand why his maid was in the hotel hallway. His team suggests she either wanted to please him by bringing Tamachika or eliminate her. This confuses Takabana as it would be inconvenient for him. His servant points out that their opinions might not always align with his, worrying him about losing Tamachika. Back at the hotel, Tamachika realizes the attacker was Takabana's maid. Yogiri senses the situation is dangerous and advises Tamachika to prepare to leave. Surprisingly, she agrees calmly, prompting Yogiri's surprise at her composed reaction to the tense situation. The spirit warns Tamachika that this situation is dangerous, sensing death. Shocked by the ease of death in this world, Tamachika struggles to comprehend it. As they start to flee, they encounter another of Takabana's servants who questions their destination. When Yogiri asks what she wants, the servant traps him in an ice crystal using a spell. She gleefully announces that her boss, Takabana, wants Tamachika brought to him. However, Yogiri effortlessly breaks free from the ice by attempting to kill it, leaving both the servant and Tamachika bewildered. Confused, Tamachika asks Yogiri what he means by killing the ice. The servant, still in shock, tries casting more spells, but Yogiri neutralizes her magic and destroys her staff. Subdued, the servant agrees to answer Yogiri's questions. He inquires if she can use magic without her staff, to which she replies that her class requires a staff for casting spells. She then produces another wand from her hair. Tamachika, curious about her hidden wand, tells Yogiri to stop prying. Yogiri is surprised by her ability to store wands in her hair. He then questions her about the order to bring Tamachika to Takabana, and the servant confirms that everyone was instructed to do so. Suddenly, another attack comes from the ceiling, but but Tamachika uses her judo skills to counter it. Yogiri is taken aback, but the spirit comments on Tamachika's emerging martial arts talent. Upon closer inspection, they realize the attacker is a doll. More dolls surround them, and the servant produces yet another wand from her hair, admitting she thought she could handle the situation alone. Yogiri's eyes gleam, causing the doll-controlling girl to collapse lifelessly. Another girl, who had ordered the dolls to attack but keep Tamachika alive, panics as Yogiri effortlessly destroys all the dolls. Cornered, she pleads for her life, making Tamachika feel like they are the real villains. Takabana senses another servant's death, and learns that Yogiri and Tamachika have extracted all the information from the frightened girl. He tells his remaining maids about Yogiri's lethal ability to kill by mere thought. Though skeptical, Takabana suggests observing Yogiri and Tamachika and planning an ambush. As Tamachika and Yogiri descend the stairs, they are met with a swarm of cockroaches. Tamachika screams, but stops Yogiri from killing them, fearing the trauma. The spirit reveals that Takabana is using the insects for surveillance. Yogiri offers to kill them, but Tamachika balks at the thought of the insects raining down on them. She becomes determined to seek revenge on Takabana. Takabana, watching the scene, underestimates Yogiri's power and orders the cockroaches to attack. Despite his maid's warning, he activates their bloodlust, alarming Tamachika. Yogiri, unfazed, suggests they should kill Takabana, tracking his position through the roach's killing intent. He then commands Takabana to die, and Takabana falls, stunning his servants. Tamachika panics, seeing the roaches still alive, but Yogiri assures her his power is infallible. He explains that the world demands consequences for actions. Noticing the roaches becoming more active due to Takabana's death, Yogiri grabs Tamachika's arm and urges her to run. Meanwhile, Takabana's servants futilely try to revive him. One servant realizes they are free with Takabana's death and walks away. Yogiri and Tamachika head through an alley to exit the city but are startled by distant screams. This brings an end to our episode. Subscribe our channel so that you don't miss the next episode.